168 pounds.
Standing nearly 8 feet tall.
Weighing in at 507 pounds and 7 feet tall.
You know, wrestling has always been more about the story than the facts. Today, I will try my best to distinguish between what's real and what's not. We will look at how weights might be inflated by several pounds and heights exaggerated by inches. Did Andre the Giant really stand 7 feet 4 inches tall? Did the Big Show really weigh 500 pounds? As always, take everything with a grain of salt. With boosted boots and no scales to measure, the only thing I can do is to make an educated guess. But let's jump back 30 to 40 years in history, to when Vince McMahon's WWF was in full swing. That's when the numbers really started to shoot up, as McMahon's went for a larger-than-life concept for wrestling. WrestleMania 3, the clash between Hogan versus Andre, marked one of the most famous in pro wrestling history. Andre is almost a mystical figure, with countless stories surrounding his strength, appetite, and size. He was built at 7 feet 4 inches, but he was probably closer, something between 6 feet 9 to 7 feet 1. In some photos with basketball player Wilt Chamberlain, who was 7 feet 1 inch tall, Andre looks just a few inches shorter, while camera angles can change perspective. Safe to say Andre was a few inches shorter than advertised, but still a large human being. But what about his rival Hulk Hogan? While Hogan is known for a lot of made-up stories and half-truths and even straight-up lies, he might have been actually close to his build height of 6 feet 7 inches, or probably rather somewhere between 6 feet 4 to 6 feet 6. Recent photos of him standing next to Joe Rogan make him look even smaller. But don't forget that countless hip and back surgeries, a fused spine, and the age of 70 can take some height away. As for his weight, while over 300 pounds sounds really impressive, might have been rather in the realm of 260 pounds, maybe a few pounds plus or minus. Sid Vicious, on the other hand, was probably a legit 6'7", slightly taller than Hogan.
Oh, it's live, pal.
Roughly the same height as The Undertaker, who always got billed as 6 feet 10. The Undertaker is considerably shorter than Big Show, and what looks like a 3 to 4 inch height discrepancy. It seems that Undertaker may be tall enough to be considered 6'8". Unfortunately, there are not many other great shots of The Undertaker's height compared to the Big Show. To add more perspective, he stands at a similar height against the similar-sized Great Khali. While we're on the topic of The Undertaker, one of the, if not the tallest wrestler was his WrestleMania 9 opponent, Giant Gonzalez, billed at 8 feet, but according to a measurement in the Guinness Book of World Records, his official measurement was 7 feet 6. But what about the weight? Yokozuna, for example, was billed at over 500 pounds at the King of the Ring 1993. His weight really started to increase more and more as his performance, mobility, and unfortunately health deteriorated. Before his death, people close to him reported that he might have been in the range of over 600 pounds. Looking at him in one of his last interviews on British TV and comparing him with others in the same weight class, that might be actually accurate. At the end of the Attitude Era, things seemed to change a little. While build weights still were off, they seemed to get closer and more realistic, especially with athletes from other sports like amateur wrestling, MMA, and pro football joining the world of professional wrestling. Among those athletes was Kurt Angle. While he competed in the Olympics and amateur wrestling in the 100 kg or 220 pound class, which matches his build weight, his build height was at 6 foot, but I recall that he was also billed at 6'2" sometimes. In an interview in 2008, he said that he was listed at 6 feet 2, but everyone in wrestling is 4 inches shorter than the program says they are. And in 2012 on his Twitter, he reconfirmed that he's 5'10". His rival Brock Lesnar, who we covered in a different clip, was billed at 6'3", which matches his NFL and MMA measurements and stats. As for his weight, during the beginning of his career, he was billed at 286 pounds, close to his football measurements of 285. He fought in MMA in the 265-pound weight class, so a little water cut probably was enough to get him there. Nowadays, he seemed to have lost some size and slimmed down a little, so 265-ish might be a good guess for his current weight. This makes me also question the height of The Rock, who was billed at 6'5", but is certainly a few inches shorter. However, as for his weight, with his current looks, 260 pounds seems legit. Another former football player, Bill Goldberg, was billed at 6'4" and 285 pounds. During his football career, he was also measured at 6'2" and 268. Of course, he's a pretty big boy, especially considering he played defensive tackle. Another official measurement revealed that Dave Bautista was billed at 6'6" and 290 pounds, was probably rather in the realm of 6'4" and 260 pounds. And you have to keep in mind that he didn't carry much body fat, which makes bodybuilders look a lot bigger than they are. The world's fourth largest athlete seems to measure in at a legitimate 7 foot, standing barefooted next to the 6'8" Akebono. He also stands head-to-head with another 7-foot star, such as the NBA player Dirk Nowitzki, someone whose height in photos seems to be all over the place, even against the same giant person, is Kevin Nash. Obviously, the differences in camera angle and physical placement in the photos can play a big part. Billed at 7 foot, Nash seems to be around 6'10" at most, or at the lowest 6'9" when compared to The Undertaker's height. I'd wager Kevin Nash is 6'10", which is the same as his official basketball height. Kane, on the other hand, is billed at 7 foot, probably the statistic furthest away from the truth after Andre the Giant. Hilariously, the WWE commentary have referred to Kane and the Big Show as the two 7-footers, even when they are tagged together and Big Show stands over him quite a bit. So how tall is Kane? To be honest, I have no idea. I would guess the lowest is 6'6", or maybe even up to 6'9" in wrestling gear, excluding his hair height. But how about the smaller wrestlers on the roster? You know, it was always funny to me that the 5'6" Rey Mysterio seems like he may actually be around 5'1" or 5'2". In this image, he stands as tall or even slightly shorter than Io Shirai, who stands at 5'1". His friend Eddie Guerrero was, according to Dave Meltzer, a legit 5'6", and his build weight probably nowhere at 220 pounds. For comparison, the current WWE wrestler Tommaso Ciampa, with his 5'11", is currently somewhere between 185 pounds to 190 pounds heavy and fairly lean. The inspiration for this clip was Randy Orton, who gained a lot of muscle mass and is now built at 275 pounds. He's actually 6'4" tall, although he was built being taller early in his career. Based on his size and the fact that he has very large legs, it is likely that he weighs somewhere between 250 and 270 pounds now. The Austrian anomaly Günther is still built at 297 pounds on the official website, but this was before his weight loss. According to an interview in German, he's currently weighing 242 pounds. Former 2012 Summer Olympics wrestler Chad Gable is 5 foot 8 inches tall, which matches his height from his amateur wrestling days. His build weight of 202 pounds is also not far off from his competitive weight of 185 pounds, as amateur wrestlers often have to lose a lot of weight in order to compete. Here in Japan, many official measurements are surprisingly accurate. I'm currently training some of the wrestlers of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I'm aware of the actual weights, which are in most cases the same as the build ones. However, some wrestlers are completely off, such as in the case of Ishii, who's billed as weighing 100 kilograms or 220 pounds, but is actually closer to 80 kg. As I said earlier, we can only speculate. Can you think of any other weight or height that is often exaggerated? Let me know in the comments, but keep it classy. In the end, I guess that asking a guy what his weight or what his height is similar to asking him how much he can bench. Or, as Tank Abbott said it well, when talking about Ken Shamrock's 600-pound bench.
The only time Ken Shamrock has been under 600 pounds would have to be at a plus-size whorehouse.